Do you remember last week? Was it last week? Yeah, last week when I said the toilets were smelling a bit funny outside my office.
How dare you?
Oh dear. Is it stopped?
I don't know. Just look at the
The drain got blocked and it flooded and it flooded back into the corridor and then into my colleague's office. So everything smells of wee and her office has been destroyed. Nature inconvenience. Oh well, it's getting fixed. Playing Hades. The new Hades 2's come out and I never played the first one and it was a £5 on Steam, so I'm catching up and yeah, I can see why everybody enjoyed it so much. I don't usually play rogue lights, but this is good. Anyway, the last couple of weeks we've been talking about how I've been growing away from you guys, if you're a student, in terms of the new learner experience and me, who's been doing it for donkey's years. And we were also talking about how, we were talking about stress and exams and what have you, but I also understand there's a lot of anxiety when you start a new course and you meet teachers and talking to teachers and asking questions. And one of the things about learning is it's difficult to know what the right question is. And I've had a couple of experiences of that recently, which have been really good. I have had students come and see me over the last couple of weeks, and because they've been finding anatomy difficult, and they have been describing to me what their difficulties are, and some of them don't like anatomy, which is fine, but they want to be doctors, so we have to figure it out and we'll figure it out together. And that has been really helpful because they've been really honest with me. They've told me the level they're at, the things they're finding difficult, and they're really, really basic, simple things, which means I've been able to recalibrate my teaching and think, okay, we'll start here and I'll capture you guys and then we'll lift everybody up. So those conversations that I've had have been really good for me, the teacher, and hopefully they've been good for the student as well, because I've hopefully encouraged you and made you feel like you can do this, right? I think a common feeling is that you might feel embarrassed that you should know more. Don't worry. I still feel like that. I always have felt like that. I imagine I always will feel like that. I always feel like I should know more. Like students ask me questions I can't answer. It's like, I feel I should know that, right? And it might be things I've never looked at or things that I just don't remember. I know it can be difficult asking questions at the end of a teaching episode or during a teaching episode. You feel like you're interrupting the class, slowing things down. You don't want to ask what you feel is a stupid question. You feel like everybody else in the room knows more than you. Fine, but approach the teacher after the session and ask them questions, either immediately after or at some other time. We love these questions. We love these conversations. If you're one of those students that finds it difficult to go and speak to your teacher, try and get over that, because it will help you a lot. Teachers are great. Teachers can speed up your learning. We can explain things to you which will get you over those hurdles you get stuck on, like hopefully pretty much immediately. We can offer all sorts of advice, but because this is our favourite subject, we love talking about our favourite subject, right? That's why we're here. And we can explain it in a number of different ways until you get it. So try to go and speak to your teacher. Humans in general, you know, if we all talk together, if we all talked more, humanity probably wouldn't be in such a mess, right? We'd probably be solving some of the big problems of the world. And we've talked about failure before. There's a fear of failure. There's a fear of appearing as a failure. There's a fear that once you have failed, everybody knows about your failure. And the point is that we have all failed. We've all got to this point and we've all failed, but you don't all know about it. Like I feel like a failure because I'm in a teaching job and I never became that research scientist that I intended to be, that I was becoming. I became something completely different, and I feel like a failure because I'm not doing basic science, I'm not doing research, I'm not publishing papers. And yeah, I know that I can't. I haven't got the time or the energy. I'd break if I tried to do that as well. So I try to do my teaching job to the best level I can be. But all of your teachers, all of those people maybe you put up on pedestals, they've all had failures in their pasts, and they've all learned how to get over those, and they can help you too. So talk to your teachers. We love it. It's often difficult to know the right question to ask. Now, if you've been in a teaching episode and there's something you don't understand, great. You got a question to ask, write it down. So I've had three, but I'll give you two great examples I've had in the last couple of weeks that have improved my understanding of the human body because of student questions. Number one, I had a student ask me about, he was asking about the ovaries and the fallopian tubes and the fimbriae. Now, there's a weird thing with the peritoneum that lines the abdominal cavity and covers the pelvic organs, right? In the ovaries, well, the uterine tubes are essentially an opening into the peritoneal cavity. And the ovary, when it releases an egg, when it releases an ovum, the fimbriae kind of have to encourage it into the uterine tube, into the fallopian tube. It's not a seal. He had just discovered this, thought this was mad. And I think he'd done some light reading around, and he read that it was possible for the other fallopian tube to move and pick up the egg from the ovary in certain situations. And I'm pretty sure that's not a thing, but I'll go and look it up. And I found this study. So there was this study, I think it was from some ONG, obs and gynae surgeons, and it was based at King's College London. Really good study. They looked at 800 pregnancies, and these were pregnancies in women that had previously had, I think, an ectopic pregnancy, so they'd lost one uterine tube for one reason. So they only had one uterine tube, but two ovaries. And then they looked at which ovary had the corpus luteum in each of those pregnancies. The corpus luteum is the remnants of the follicle that supported the egg when it was developing in the ovary. And the corpus luteum is important because after the egg has been released, the corpus luteum hangs around inside the ovary and it releases progesterone, which keeps the endometrial lining in the uterus so that implantation and pregnancy can occur. So they looked to see which ovary had the corpus luteum, so which ovary had released the egg and which ovary still had a uterine tube. In a third of cases, the egg that led to the pregnancy came from the ovary that was not connected to the uterus by a uterine tube. A third of pregnancies. So the idea is that the ovary releases the egg and there's no uterine tube for it to go into. So it's in the peritoneal cavity, it floats around the pouch of Douglas, so posteriorly around there, and then gets picked up by the fimbriae of the other uterine tube, the functioning uterine tube, and pulled in, and fertilization happens in the uterine tube. It's one of those things I never knew about because I never knew to ask that question. As an anatomist, it's one of those things I'd say, I mean, it's possible, but it seems really unlikely. But then you actually look, you do the science. Amazing. So there are cilia in the uterine tube and in the fimbriae, on the cells of the fimbriae, and they actually create a current in the fluid, which is what draws the egg from the ovary into the uterine tube. So it's less random than it appears, but there must be. And number two, how does the lymphatic system take fluid from the pleural cavity? Because we've been looking at the pleural cavity and what have you. And well, there's not that much fluid in the pleural cavity. It's only a little bit. It's not like normal tissues of the body, so the lymphatic system doesn't have that much work to do. That sort of thing. Then I went to look it up. The visceral pleura covering the lungs, completely sealed. The parietal pleura lining the walls of the thorax, lymphatic vessels open directly onto that surface. They are connected directly to the pleural cavity. I never knew this. So if you looked at the parietal pleura under a microscope, you'd see lots of little tiny pores. So the lymphatic system can directly pull fluid from the pleural cavity, and that's how it manages. That's how the body manages the amount of fluid in the pleural cavity. That, and of course the activity of the fluid secreting cells in the mesothelium in the pleura itself. Amazing. And then you think about the pressures involved when you're breathing, and the low pressures, the lymphatic system, and how does all that work anyway? Asking the right questions. Questions that maybe felt obvious to the student, or weird to the student, or stupid to the student, and I mean, just made my week. Really did. And that's the other thing, isn't it, about us growing apart, is that I kind of know, I know all the things, but I don't know everything, and I'm very conscious that I don't know everything, but I don't know what I don't know. All right, and a final bit of truth. This game's got quite a bit of cognitive load, but whoops. Final bit of truth. Did you know that every time I record an anatomy video, sure, I've got an idea, and I've got some notes to keep me on track and things I've looked up, because, you know, I've got to check my memory. I'm not always correct. But every time I record an anatomy video, I think I've done a terrible job. I think that was too fast. I think I said things wrong. I think I missed things out that were important. And it just feels really bad. And then when I go and edit it and play back the stuff I recorded, it was fine. Perception of myself and perception of how I perform and what I do at the time is not the same as what I really am like. Anyway, yeah, okay. So, ask good questions. Keep asking good questions. We love it.